college education equals lasting marriage.
Put him in the fucking bedroom. Get him out of here. Come on.
Let's go. Click the link.
I've never heard of that ever. What?
I have heard of this. Y'all never heard of that?
Definitely, I've heard of this before too.
All right. The link between a college education and lasting marriage. About half of first marriages in the U.S. are likely to survive at least 20 years, according to government estimates. But for one demographic group, marriages last longer than most. College-educated women have an almost 8 in 10 chance of still being married after 2 decades. Now, this is December 2015. From what I gathered, I think marriage rates have increased just a little bit last years. So I don't want to dismiss this because of 2015, because it seems like even today we have a trend of marriage going up, people getting married more. So I would assume that by proxy, divorce is lower, right? That's how that would happen. Is it? I think so. Cheek, did you look at this already?
We read this some years ago too.
You want to, if you don't mind, maybe you could pinpoint it more quickly than I, because I have to read through it to figure out what we need to pinpoint. I can read it though. It don't matter.
I think you should read it just for the edification of the audience.
Researchers at the National Center of Health Statistics estimate that 78% of college-educated women who married for the first time between 2006 and 2010 could expect their marriages to last at least 20 years. But among women who have a high school education or less, the share is only 40%. And so what this graph shows is what I just read, right? It just has it up here. High school, 40%, some college, 49%, bachelor's degree, 78%, and then all women are at 52%. So I think that graph is pretty good. So the average is out to 52%, but the women with this bachelor's degrees are at 78%. Significantly, was at 20% more than even the ones with some education. The probability of lasting marriage is derived from marital history data from the National Survey of Family Growth, a nationally representative sample of women and men who were ages 15 to 44 between 2006 and 2010. Estimates are based on an approach similar to that used to determine life expectancy and assume that marriage patterns in the future will follow patterns today. I'm glad we talked about the increase in marriage, right? So we doing good. The findings refer only to opposite sex marriages. The sample size was too small to analyze same-sex marriage. Reason for marriages ending include divorce and separation. Marriages that end in death were not included in the analysis. One limitation of the survey was that it did not include adults over the age of 44, and therefore does not take into account long-term marriages that started later in life. And adults with advanced degrees were not separately analyzed because of the small sample size. So this is bachelor's degrees and all degrees. So it's more than just bachelor in that sample size above. The findings are yet further evidence of marriage gap in the U.S. along educational lines. College-educated adults are more likely to be married than less educated adults. Among those who are ages 25 and older in 2014, 65% of those with bachelor degrees or more were married compared to 53% of adults with less education, according to a Pew Research Center analysis. While the research does not address reasons these marriages last longer, we do know college-educated adults marry later in life and are more financially secure than less educated adults. While more educated women have the highest chances of a long-term marriage, college-educated men also stand out. Roughly 2/3, 65% of men with bachelor's degrees could expect that if they marry, their first marriages will last 20 years or longer compared to 50% of men with high school diplomas or less. In addition, men with higher level of education are more likely to get married in the first place when compared with less educated men. So here's a distinctive pattern: sharp differences on longevity, marriages by race and ethnicity. So Hispanics go from damn near 90% to 69% as an education. That's the duration. So it looks like, let me read it. There are also distinctive patterns in marriage longevity by race and ethnicity. Some of these differences could be related to educational differences among the adults with different racial and ethnic backgrounds. Asian women who are among the most educated are more likely than any other racial or ethnic group to have a long-term marriage. For Asian women who married for the first time between 2006 and 2010, the chance that they may celebrate their 20-year wedding anniversary is nearly 70%. By contrast, about half of Hispanic and white women see the marriage last that long, and for black women, the chance is 37%. So, what you think, Tarus?
So, on a real quick note, that last point you make, that makes sense because the Asian demographic in this country hasn't been here as long as the rest of us. So there's still a lot more of the Eastern philosophies that get taught by the parents and the older parents, right? And so, right, they're including the Asians, which includes the Indians who have more arranged marriage backgrounds and things like that. That makes sense because we went over, I'm sorry, guys, I got choked up. We went over something a few months ago, and I think she was there, I think Sherelle was there too, about the average age of people who get married. And so the fact that we just read that these women that are college educated, including the men that are college educated, are more likely to be older as well, probably mid to late 20s. That coincides with the fact that the average age that we saw amongst our community getting married now was about 29, 30, right? And so your average bachelor's program, you're getting out at about 22, 23. If you get a graduate's program, you're going to be done around 24, 26, right? Obviously, the higher you go into education, the less percentage of people that actually meet that requirement. But still, since they're adding in everyone, that makes a lot of sense because it also correlates to the fact that we also read the non-married demographic that has the highest divorce rates. And like you said, averages out.
So Tarus, right? No, 100%. What you're saying, right? Just the analysis. Here's the sentiment or the talking point, right? The woman with the higher ed, right? And by proxy, the higher job and maybe more, yes, to be in her assertive right? In a way, right? She leverages the degree over the man, right? You heard that sample that Kevin Samuels used to use. I'm a PhD, right? As though it makes shit don't stink. He's saying that her disposition is poor. The disposition that comes with a highly educated woman who has the tough job or the high job or whatever the proper verbiage is undesirable, right? But these women are getting married and staying married. Does the data analysis conflict with that talking point?
And the original talking point is, can you please bring that up just so everybody sees it?
Bring it up.
College education equals marriage.
Higher ed, longer lasting marriage, and more marriages. I guess they're married.
When we do all these panels and we put all these stats together, when we actually go look it up, all the man talking points always contradict the actual evidence.
Except for the last one.
Because we've also said it before too. Married men live longer.
I think we get what, 2 more years?
On average. Obviously, because we still got our own individual health problems and things like that. But bro, it makes sense. We saw the stats. We see that women, by the way, and this stats, these are women most likely marrying other men who also are educated. I would really like to see a breakdown, by the way, of the amount of educated women married to non-educated men. I know that's going to be, and especially our country, there's going to be a decent percentage, but that talking point's valid. And there's a lot of people who need to swallow their pride and admit that.
So I think.
I would say, I guess I cheated on my last one because I already had read this one. But that's what I'm saying. I think when you know that educated people get married a little later, but they're not divorcing for the reasons of people divorce over money. That's like number one reason we divorce. So when people are going to get the education and they're getting married later when they already have established themselves and they don't have to focus and worry about the finances, their marriages are lasting longer. So people are saying don't get deterred in your 20s, right? Because you can have a baby, get married, focus on that, and then drop the ball on your career. And now you have a family and you're struggling over money issues, and that will attribute to your marriage not lasting. So the plan is for them to say, hey, get established in this career, get the money. You will be around other educated people, right? Because what it's saying is it's for the educated men too. So now the educated women and the educated men get together, they're financially stable, and they're able to really hold on to a marriage because they don't have all of this struggle and this outside things interfering with what they have building. So yes, I say we get rid of that talking point.
Now, well, go ahead, Cheat. You froze? Are you good?
No, I didn't freeze. What's up?
What you think?
I think the stats and evidence say what they say. It's pretty straightforward to me. Seem like if men want to stay in a lasting marriage, nigga, go get an education too. Because it said both. Here's the thing about statistics. There's no bias. That shit just said, hey, look, for the men, it kind of work out for you too. So now we got to start asking the question. Maybe the talking point should be, nigga, go get educated instead of women stop getting educated. All right. Maybe we can make the benefit. Maybe we can flip this around and go, hey, you know what? What we've noticed is maybe the women aren't wrong for wanting a man that's college educated because the overall statistic says when y'all are both educated, y'all are both likely to stay together. I don't know.
Similar ideals, similar ambitions.
I'm just saying what we can't do is say all these women, they have an education, and then when they say I want a man that's educated, that's just ridiculous. I can't believe that. They just asked me, wait a minute.
When they was getting educated, they were saying their peers, they was complaining about black men not being educated because their peers, they wasn't finding a match. So they get this education because that's what they told them. You go to school, you get the education, you're going to find a man. But then they're like, but the black men aren't here, and we want the black men to have the education. So I think that was one of their complaints.
So my thing is, instead of trying to disqualify what women are looking for as qualifications, maybe looking to why, have a logical and stat-based reason and try to adhere to that, right? Because it's for your benefit as well. So if an educated black woman says, I would like an educated black man, you shouldn't be like, you too good for men that ain't educated. Well, no, my outcomes are probably a little better if he's educated as well. And here's the statistics to prove it. And if you're a man and you want the best outcome, then go strive for that, right? Why would you ask for somebody to not do that?
For the standard.
Well, so now let me just say, so I think people misunderstand money too. and how to allocate it, what a profit and loss is, what can actually generate a return. I think there's a problem with people want the job title to be prestigious, you see? And so they take a particular disposition about towards people who are, right, finance, have the resources, but don't have that cute job title like lawyer. When I know that motherfucker ain't passed the bar, that's why he's still a lawyer, right? And he'll be an attorney once he passed the bar, dickhead. But he keep calling himself a lawyer on purpose, right? But if it's a truck driver, plumber, it don't got the prestige, but he's financially in the same range. Now, are they going off just likelihood? Because people that are educated make more money. Are we doing ourselves a disservice by following prestigious titles and not the financial gains?
And I think maybe this may be on your roulette, so I don't want to go deep into it. But how do we know women care about money and that's it? How do we know that's just the reason why they want somebody that's educated? What if women care about more than money? What if they care if their man is intelligent too? Okay. Right? Maybe we gotta. I don't know what's on your board, so I don't want to. But let's just see. Maybe we can find out today.
It was a couple of years ago, right, Chief?
Say what now?
All the women with sapiosexuals is connected.
Yeah, because here's the thing about being a content creator and been doing it for some years. Some of this stuff I've already read, and some of this stuff I have live shows about. So maybe women just don't care about money as much as we think they do. Maybe there's something more to the human being, but we're just stuck.
So you are making an argument that he has the money but lacks the intellect. He engage her. He doesn't stimulate her mind in the same way.
Perfect example. Watch this. Give Floyd Mayweather a book from Harry Potter to read and see how many women with brains.
Put him in the fucking bedroom. Get him out of here.
See how many women with brains is gonna look at that and be like, "Oh my God, I'm wet." Like,
Cheeky, you know what the problem is too? The men will look at that, Cheeky. They'll go look at all these women all over Floyd, and they're like, "Well, these are the women we're supposed to stay away from anyway." You know what I mean? These are the women you don't want to be, or you're not supposed to be around anyway.
Well, let's see what the men say.
Maybe we don't know. We have no idea. We're asking questions. We're investigating.
So we got two brothers up here. My brother Willie in the building. Shout out to the platform panel and the host. 2K with the $5. So shout out to HAMP, Babes, and Taru. Black America. What up, OG?
Perfect.
I think they've been listening. Yep. They've been here for this part. So let's get Black America in.
Good morning. I just wanted to come up for a quick second. I believe you said that. So I separated by race, right? Because to me, that's the only thing that matters. I'm not going to go out of my way to save a white woman hanging off the side of a building. If Sherelle was hanging off the side of the building, I'm going to be like, get the mattress at least put up under her, right? You said for black people or black women, it's 37%. I don't think I'm leaving the house on that day. They say it's a 37% chance that I'm going to live, right? And that's what we're talking about, is the actual life expectancy of said thing. 37% life expectancy of that said thing, which is marriage and or divorce. That's not good. Another thing, Taru said black or married men live longer. Yes, married men do live longer, except black men. Black men that are married do not have a longer life expectancy. So when it comes to certain stuff, we all, me, you, Taru's, any other married brother, we know we gonna kick off before our wives. We just waiting till our kids are grown and can take care of themselves, basically. And I understand, because you guys aren't as old as I am, but at the same time, you're not living as long or having, let's say, a quality of life as other people. But that's all I wanted to say, Help. It's nothing else.
All right, so what it was, Black America, before I get Willie in, is saying that 37% of those marriages last for 20 years. And the overwhelming majority of the ones that last that long, those people are educated.
Right. So 37% last for more than 20 years. So you know what that means? It's a 67% chance that the shit's not going to last. That makes your once again, if somebody said you have a 67% chance or whatever, over 50%, you're not leaving the house that day. I'll take a 50-50, right? I take a 50-50 fade all day. I'm not taking a fade that's going to be, I might win 20% of the time. I'm going to try and talk my way out of it. And that's what's going on right now.
100%. Now, let's say you got a 2-on-2 fade. Do you pick a mixed martial artist or a fucking Kempo fighter?
2 people against me?
You get to bring somebody.
I would probably take the mixed martial artist for the utility of it because I don't know what I'm facing.
Kempo karate ain't gonna do nothing but get your ass whooped, right? So what this is saying
it's useful for children,
for discipline and shit like that. But now what this is saying, the woman that is educated, if you want a long-lasting marriage, is saying get with a woman that is educated because it's likely that the marriage is lasting longer. This is what we're looking at right here. Remember
37%, bro.
Point? Remember the talking point was the women that are highly educated and stuff that makes them less desirable because of their disposition, how they try to leverage their degree over men's heads, and etc. The statistic is showing the women that are highly educated, their marriages are lasting longer. Also,
just a fact check. Short answer. Yes, married black men tend to have lower mortality and live longer than unmarried black men. All right, I can keep going, but that wasn't the case. That was,
it says that the married men stay alive longer. Black America as well.
Can I address Black America specifically with the black men part? Black America. It's going to be real quick, guys. Real quick. Black America, you're actually partially correct with the fact that black married men compared to our white counterparts or Hispanic counterparts, we don't get the same level of benefit of being married longevity-wise as some of our counterparts. Black America, you mentioned it before. I know I'm not going to live longer than my wife, but unfortunately, Black America deals with things like diabetes being a higher risk, heart disease being a higher risk, some of these things that just naturally affect us due to genetics more. And statistically, it's still the truth, Black America, that even accounting for all of that, Black married men still have a better, higher quality of life over the long term than unmarried Black men.
If you think so, if you say so, I once you get up around 33, 34, 35 years, somebody with experience like that, then you tell me what you think, right?
Well,
it's not what you think,
bro. I ain't there yet, but I'm getting there.
You know? Right, and that's all I'm saying. It's not a huge deal, right? But it's like I don't even like to hear my women speak. I don't like. What are you even saying today? The quality of life is subjective, right? For each individual person. 18 years, we were still having fun, right? I dig it. But once that person is waiting for somebody to die at this point, you know what I mean? And that's just to keep it all the way real. Like that's why when men like Fantastic say, I don't want to get married again because he's having too much fun, I understand. So I dig what you're saying, though. But that was, I just don't think 37% chance of lasting longer. Because we all know what happens if you get divorced in the first 5 years, she's not getting nothing. You get divorced after 10 years, she's getting something. If you get divorced after 20 years, she's getting everything you got. So just something that you need to think of.
I've never.
All right, I'm going, guys. I'll see you this weekend. Help.
It's a pointless conversation because you'll never know the truth. You never know.
You don't like them.
Well, no, it's not about me liking them. It's about me understanding come to the same realization that Sherelle has come. What's the point in me?
I gotta get him again.
What's the point in
you ever get married? Miss Fantastic, stop the diatribe, please. You ever get married again?
What?
Possibly.
Hey, ain't no way, boy. Man, I'm just trying to be like you when I grow up, big dog.
What you think about what you heard so far, brother?
So, to the prompt or to what's being said about it?
Yes.
All right. Well, what's being said about it, I want to clarify what was the question being asked because it seems like it's do men live longer or benefit from being married? So that's why I want to know specifically before I respond.
So the prompt was the higher education of the women, but it does include the men later on. The more highly educated she is, those marriages are lasting longer. Which we're addressing the talking point about the woman with the higher ed is less desirable and etc. Yeah, sentiment essentially. So, but the statistics show that the woman that's more highly educated is staying married longer and having more success.
So what that statistic doesn't take into account is, are those women being married at a higher rate? Are those women marrying younger? There's a lot of things that matter when we have this conversation about getting married, and just because somebody has a degree means that they're more likely to be married for a longer time or stay married doesn't also absolve them of getting divorced either. So it may take them 9 years to get divorced instead of the typical 4 to 5 or whatever it is for them. So there's a lot of other areas that we can use as metrics for this. But I could see why women with higher degree, and I'm not talking like a bachelor's degree is not what I'm talking about, but women with master's degrees and PhDs, I could see why they would be married longer, because those women tend to marry men who are in their same space. And men who have master's degrees and PhDs tend to have similar values to what women do and place on education. Even though that man may feel her education doesn't make her a better partner to him as a woman, but it does make her a better teammate as far as her capability and skill in the outside world.
So he's staying married to her just because it makes sense. She's functional, capable. She's an asset.
Not just because of that, but I think that.
But let me ask you a question though. He don't like her that much?
I think that isn't the issue. I don't think it's a priority with these types of couples. I think compatibility and utility is more so than they'll love each other, but they might not necessarily enjoy each other. You may not necessarily want to have a girl who's got a degree in computer science. So she got a master's in mathematics, a PhD in mathematics, and a guy that's got this MBA. They may have some areas where they overlap, but as far as who they are as people and what they enjoy and what their benefits are, I don't think that they necessarily care about liking each other as much as what the end result is of their marriage, which is two people being successful and building towards something.
I ain't never seen an East Indian couple hug or kiss in public. You're right.
I don't know nobody. I know a lot of women with PhDs. None of them are freaks. None of them do the things that I think a man would want sexually, because they're just not those types of women. And it's the same thing for the guys that I know with PhD. They just regular dudes. They cool doing, you know what I'm saying, my wife is at home, we'll cook, or we go out to eat. They don't have normal people, I'd say, levels of what I would think is physical interaction.
He's still popping his Johnson through his boxer hole.
Okay. Probably. We're sleeping with pajamas with feet in them.
So just curious, it sounds like he's citing the study that college educated people come along with each other. And if you try to mix uneducated ass is a super freak, because all you got to do is fuck around and not go to school, and you meet somebody that their entire life they've been going to school, probably not going to work out. You need to go find an uneducated woman and be a freak with that uneducated woman, so y'all could be freaks together, because neither one of y'all got time to study, because that's not what matters.
Ain't staying married.
No, that's not
right. So what does it matter? Right. So it sounds like what he's saying is it's a 1-for-1 match. The college educated men and college educated women need to be together, and they're more likely to have the most successful relationship because that's what aligns with them. But if you want some freaked out fucker, right, and you're not a freaked out fucker, it don't seem like it's gonna match. It makes sense. He almost saying it's 1-on-1. He literally just said that.
I was very clear about what I said. It's not college educated, it's upper education. And I said I don't count bachelor's degrees as that.
Stephen Hawking's freak ass.
Yeah, bachelor degrees come a dime a dozen. I know a lot of dick-eating demons from college that have bachelor's degrees. But when it comes to masters and PhDs, those numbers dwindle. Because
Stephen
the longer a woman
even walk, and he was in a wheel, and he's in Epstein Island, freaked out. He got a PhD.
But wait,
I'm not
so do you think that people who prioritize sex are having longer marriages? Because I don't think we talked about this on the panel before. Men are not typically marrying their freakiest freak. They're not marrying a girl from the strip club that could do a lot.
No, that's not what I'm saying either.
All of that, so I don't think they marrying a woman for sex. They have to raise their children.
He didn't say that. He didn't say that either. He's not saying
you gotta let him reply to something now.
Yeah.
No, that's nothing that I said should make someone believe that's what I think. Nothing that I said should take someone down that logic trail or that load. Does he mean this? Exactly what I am saying is this. Women with master's degrees and PhDs should probably date men with master's degrees and PhDs, to see Banter's point, to his point. But when it comes to bachelor's degrees, that's like a high school diploma. There's not the line of delineation is just not as concrete and defined as it would be with someone with a PhD. Because again, we all went to college. Well, y'all went to college for the most part. I didn't stay. And when we were in college, we knew a lot of girls who was school worms, but they was also still getting down every weekend. They was at every rush party. They was at every football players event. They was at every party in the club while they were in college, and still somehow managed to get their bachelor's degree and then go out and become whatever they became. But the girls that we know with master's degrees and PhDs, they probably didn't have that same priority as far as partying because they got to spend the first 6-8 years of college on their education. And unfortunately, it's very hard for a woman to try to get a PhD and be in a relationship. To keep up with the man and keep up with her girlfriend or her wifely duty is very difficult. So I think that those women in that very small niche of people who have masters and bachelor's, meaning PhDs, those people probably will do better together. But if she just got a bachelor's degree, that doesn't prove anything other than she was persistent in staying in school for 4 years.
Well, that's not true because the stats say otherwise. It means that she's more likely got a higher chance of being in a long-lasting marriage, right?
That's not what I was refuting.
No, I'm not saying that that's not the case, but you're saying what you had just said was if they have a bachelor's degree, it's just a dime a dozen. One, that's not statistically true either. All right, we're starting to find out men are falling behind on that level. So degrees for a man is not a dime a dozen, which already makes a disparaging for college educated women versus college educated men. And then you took the hyper specific, which would be masters and up, which again, that they would probably be looking for men within their own colleague or group, because if you're in class with a master's degree studying and there's a man there, you probably try to go for that. So they cancel each other out. Everything seems 1-to-1, and according to the statistics, but what doesn't seem to be the case, or the thing that's not being highlighted, is even the ones with bachelor degrees, full degree, they have a better shot. That's just true based on what
they have a better shot of getting married, but it doesn't increase their shot of staying married. So
that's not what the study just said, though.
The study doesn't say they have a longer shot of staying married either. They have a bachelor's degree.
Yeah, they have longer just went over the chart that showed the marriages, man.
Right. So, but does it mean that? So my point is this: having a bachelor's degree does not mean you're not going to get divorced. That's my point.
We didn't say that.
Well,
nobody said it doesn't mean you're not going to get divorced.
That's when I said the bachelor's degrees are a dime a dozen. That's what I was talking about. I'm not talking about men having bachelor's degrees. Everybody knows that more women go to school and have bachelor's degrees. That's not a thing. That's not.
Wait, but listen, wait. But did you miss the study where it said a man having a degree?
No, I heard you guys cite it. I didn't miss anything. I heard you guys cite it, but I haven't. I'm not reading. I'm talking about from this personal experience. As far as
so you're not speaking on facts. You're speaking on anecdotal.
Well, nobody's speaking on facts. You're speaking on a study that we have to verify. So if I want to accept your premise is true, that's one thing. But what I am simply saying is that when I say a bachelor's degree is a dime a dozen, it does not mean that woman is going to be a better partner to a man who does not prioritize women with degrees. And the majority of men do not prioritize a woman's education as making her a better partner.
So just to confirm, you're using anecdotal and we're using a peer-reviewed study, right? Well,
no,
maybe
I'm using it's anecdotal to me.
Using a personal experience.
But you guys are saying that you're citing a study that's been peer-reviewed. I'm not aware of this study. I haven't done a review of it. So if you guys are, if that's the premise you want to have the conversation on, and we've all decided that we're going to accept these studies as being accurate, then we can have that conversation. But I would have to.
I think you wasn't here when we read over the article. Was you watching for that?
No,
part?
I wasn't. I've been up here for
the first part. Willie?
That's what we're saying. I got you. That's what we're trying to. All right. So
on the first part,
you missed that part.
You had mentioned the whole, did it account for the age, whether it was older or younger, that we all went over, did account for that. You know what I mean? So we're speaking on everything that we just read already. We thought maybe you.
Yep. So Willie, it counted for highest it goes is 44 years old. So more of a tangible data set. And then it's from Pew Research, which most people deem credible. And based on what we read, it put the Asians and then had different categories for ethnicities as well. So the breakdown seemingly pretty solid. So I accept it. So we're building our conversation off the article itself.
So that's fair. And if you accept it, I know I hold you in pretty high esteem as far as being able to actually ingest data and also interpret it correctly. So if you take it as a truth, that's fine. But the one thing a hill that I'm willing to die on is that just because you have a degree doesn't mean you won't get divorced. That's hopefully no one argues that point. But again,
we agree with you. I think that statement there,
and that
because you have a degree,
right.
We would,
and that is where I see a lot of pushback coming from the conversation about do degrees mean someone a more likely chance of getting married is because people think about the end result. And for most men, the end result of marriage is divorce. So a lot of guys take it as, I don't give a shit if my wife had a degree, we still got divorced. And like having a degree didn't mean that we would have been any less likely to get divorced. Not that she was less likely to get married or we were more or less likely to make it to 10 years or 5 years than 10. It's just about the outcome and what the end game is.
Wait, that last statement, could you repeat? You were saying her having a degree doesn't mean you'd be less likely to get a divorce?
Yes, that's what I'm saying.
All right, now that is where we're saying the data would prove that false.
I don't see how, because we don't measure for that. We measure for length of time. Unless the study says how many women with degrees get divorced compared to those who don't, then how do we?
Well, they would have to measure about at least. So the longest length they said was 20-year period, right? You can't predict a future divorce, but you can predict a divorce within a time frame. So if someone's been married for 20 years, and the likely chance of them staying married for 20 years has been studied and proven according to research, then we would accept that as fact. That doesn't mean that year 21 they can't get divorced, 100%. But based off of the study, it does mean that if you have a college degree, your likely chance of having a 20-year marriage is higher. If you don't have a college degree, it's lower.
I don't take that away. I don't think there's an argument made against that.
Willie's saying, end of the tunnel though, baby boy. 7 years, you're gonna hit you with the Judge Mathis.
Because then you could also look at it and extrapolate out further. Well, what percentage of marriage even make it to 20 years? So you could look at that, and then you could also take from that group of people how many of those people have degrees and who don't. See if both partners have degrees. So it would just be, at that point it'd be a study of time, and which is the end result for this is the how long you're married. That's the time. That's what would be important to a man when he's getting married. Like how long is it going to last? Because if everybody up here could just say hindsight's 2020, if we had foresight that was 2020. And everyone up here had been married before, and they knew when that they could see. If I get married today, like I got married August 6, 2004, right? So I got married August 6, 2004. If I had known that on October 11th, 2006, I will be filing for a divorce, I assure you I wouldn't have gotten married. But nobody.
So what about this? What if you knew had I gotten a college degree and my wife had a college degree, I would have went to college, and that likely chance would have dropped.
Well, so no, the likely chance would have. That's the thing. So it wouldn't have dropped. It may have just prolonged it, according to the study. Because the more, if you have a degree, the longer you stay married. Correct. So I'll follow that logic. If I knew that on August 6, 2004, I'm lying. 2004. Fuck, that's a long time ago. 2004. Forever. Pushed it out 10 years, and I knew that I was going to get divorced in 10 years. Do you know why that I would probably be even more likely to be like, no, I'm not going to do this? Because now I wasted 12 years with this person. Because I know it's still going. So the degrees and all that stuff sounds cool. The fact is that even including people with degrees, 54% of marriages end in divorce.
So I guess now we're having a theoretical conversation and not necessarily a fact-based one, which I'm fine with. I'm just saying we're expanding the conversation to theory.
It's actually because he's considering divorce rates, right? Study considers longevity in marriage.
Right.
Longevity doesn't negate the fact that those people may still get divorced. And Willie's assertion, right? I just want to be fair to what you're saying, is that the divorce rate is still for Black people, what, 70%? Or is it 50%?
I think it's 54 for a Black man.
54%?
We're talking about Black man, right? I don't want to include everybody because
no, we're not talking about everybody. Is it 50% for us?
Something like that.
So the longevity doesn't negate you got a 55% chance of getting divorced still, because that's also the most majority outcome.
Right. Well, it wouldn't negate it if we understood how many of those people divorced were educated and were with an educated partner. Right. That's the part that the study is pointing to. Right. Because it also said men and women. The study broke it down even to gender. So the likely chance, according to that study, is lower. Doesn't mean it can't exist. Is omniscient or the information that they have then. 20 years, anybody would say 20 years is a goal, right? So my point is, instead of looking at the study and saying, even though the study says we have the longevity of a marriage, you got a divorce, right? Yeah. So my point is, instead of doing that, nobody says, hey, although I'll never be able to bench 415, 225 10 times. Nothing's guaranteed, but it's there. Everybody should achieve. And
if I can show you a track that gets 20 years, people would take it.
So, right. And the same thing. And that's all I'm saying. Let's apply the idea of understanding factors and implementing or maximizing the outcomes. And instead of going, well, either way, if I tried, I failed. You know what I'm saying?
Now, here's where and here's where a point even more substantive. What Black America said, Texas as an example, they qualify for alimony, either person, right? Depending on whoever's the breadwinner, at 10 years. So now I've amassed several things in 20 years, and now I'm subject to maybe worse and harsh penalty. Even if I separate my shit down the middle, as opposed to at year 3, where maybe most likely people don't got shit. So I'm just listening to that point, which kind of interests me. Do you want to break 10 years?
We also
go ahead, Willie, and then we'll get Mr. Fantastic.
We also got to take in mind, to Hamp's point, just for that issue. A lot of people say, listen, once I'm past 10, we in forever. It's like being in the military. Nobody want to get out after once they cross that 10-year mark, because they're halfway there to retirement. In a marriage, you qualify for her to taking half of your shit, you're more likely to stay and try to work things out. But to my initial point, the fact that getting married means you'll have a longer relationship as far as when it comes to the actual end game of staying married forever, all that does is prove that it's going to take you longer to get divorced. So, because if the majority of the marriage end in divorce, until someone has a study saying, well, hey, what is the percentage of divorce rates for people with both people have a degree, one person has a degree, the end game is the same. So now people with degrees, instead of having an average length of marriage of 4 years, they have one that's an average length is 15. Congratulations. However, the end result for the non-degreed people to the degreed couple is likely, mathematically, probably speaking, is going to end in divorce. Mind you, right? And this isn't coming from a guy, I know I don't value education as a whole, but however, you're also coming from a guy that still ended up with 3 master's degrees. So again, I'm not saying this because I don't have skin in the game. I can use my anecdotal, and then two, just understanding what statistics are for men. The fact that, again, just because someone has a degree, you will stay married longer does not mean you won't get divorced. And I don't see studies that any of us would accept as valid, except for coming from women, saying that having a degree means you're less likely to get divorced. I don't see those studies measuring that. They always measure the length of time, but not the end game or the outcome.
Reading Mr. Fantastic again.
Brother.
Subscribe to I gotta see. Will was popping. Will with the 20 ball says in 2024, about 38.7% of the U.S. adults over 25 had a college degree. That means the clear majority that means the clear majority of Americans don't actually have one and likely won't. So is there a benefit in focusing on the minority? Hit the like button. Mr. Fantastic, what's goody?
Yo, what up? What's the roulette topic?
He been there for 6 minutes, isn't he?
Well, I heard these two niggas arguing back and forth about divorce.
Well, you know what? I think this one is dead. So not dead.
Yeah,
Let's get a new one, man. So
you say what?
Higher ed goes long. Higher education, a longer lasting marriage seems to be the correlation. Most people make the assumption that if it lasted longer, it was better or overall more purposeful, whatever the proper verbiage is. Based on the study, I ain't even talking to you no more. I'm laying it out so we can vote. So based on the Pew Research study, there's a correlation between highly educated people having more longevity in marriage. Based on the study, based on our analysis, what talking point does it kill though, Cheeky and Sherelle? Oh, the undesirability of the educated woman? Is that the talking point that it would be in contention with?
Or most married, or you having an education is the reason why you're single. Like that talking point. The reason why you're single is because you have education, or the reason why it's not going to last is because you're educated. That's not necessarily true.
I don't agree with that. The reason why that saying is really because of the qualities and characteristics that come with a lot of women who have educations, or the non-educated ones that make a lot of money. It's the characters and qualities that come with that. To be successful in these spaces, you oftentimes requires you to have things that we attribute to being a strong man: perseverance, tenacity, consistency, all of these things. None of those things make a woman a good woman for a man. It's not that she's educated. It's a lot of the skills and character traits she had to adopt or infuse into her personality to accomplish those things that makes her undesirable for a lot of men.
Right. So if that's the case, that's not articulated. That's the issue. Like that they associate degree with the reason why and not the person itself.
Isn't that fair though? Because it's to say, if you know that, because if a majority of people who get college degrees have these 5 character traits, we're just for a random number. If we all accept that to be known, you got to be consistent, you got to be disciplined, tenacious, all of those things, right? If we think you have to have those things to have a degree, it should be fair to assume that someone who has a degree has those things. The problem is that when people just say it's because of your degree and they don't actually articulate what it is, like they don't say the silent part out loud. It's because the things that help her.
We ain't gonna belabor this one too much longer.
Because at this point, you
achieve that degree. Was that what you're saying?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, either way it goes, that's not the talking point, right? So you're expounding on a talking point, but the talking point itself is the reason why women, or black women in particular, singles, because they have college degrees, and that's the issue. They flaunt it, but the study says otherwise. Typically, if you do have a college degree, you have better outcomes, or at least longevity. So I can't say those two correspond. I can't say that her having a college degree is the reason why she's undesirable. Well, I can't say she's an undesirable person with a college degree, but that's not the statement that's been made.
Let me do this. There's attributes correlated with what it takes to get a degree to be in the corporate, what's it called? Corporate environments and et cetera, right? Does this study disprove that because those women are getting married and staying married longer? Do we need to reassess that talking point? Or does that talking point stay intact? That women that have these higher education, chasing these careers, the money, are less desirable women when this study shows that they are able to stay married longer?
That has nothing to do with their desirability, though. So that's what I'm saying. Yeah, so desirability has nothing to do with longevity. You guys are conflating two conflicting things. And then furthermore, we're talking about black women.
What do you think ability of a thing, right? He's able to maintain something that's substantive for a longer period than the women who are less educated. And seemingly because they're less educated and don't have the careers, they don't have that negative disposition that is associated with women with the education.
I just looked at it. So it's 20% for one, right? So that's 2 out of 10 that is going to save, is going to make a difference. And then we're talking about black women have 28% marriage rate. So we're applying this to blackness. That's a very small percentage of a percentage.
Well, that's the thing. Only 30% of us have degrees in the first place.
Exactly.
So it's just 40. So we're testing the potential correlation, right? We look at when we look at other populations, we seemingly use these numbers to prove the point on the opposite side whenever it suits us. So we'll use the Asians and say they're educated, they got money, they get married, right? So we can use that. So this would just be consistent when assessing this minority populace. Right.
I guess if you're saying you want to scale it, I guess if we're trying to scalable, I guess you have an argument. But if we're just looking at what it is, and then the numbers being on the decline for black women specifically, and then black men only going up interracially, it kind of kills the argument. So we still remain where we're at.
I guess also the other point is the thing that correlates that we need to use, who's the most educated, right? Stop saying that and just say what it is. Right.
And I think that's what Willie was saying, or I don't know, the talking point leans to college education is undesirable in the black community because black women use education as a whipping stick or as a negative shot towards black men. So you said yourself, it's highly likely that the woman is going to be more educated than the man across the board. Right. So that knowing that stigma is out there, that could have a major play in it.
Except for the women that are married longer are more highly educated. See, that's the part that we're trying to give it an assessment. But I want, we got the roulette wheel, Mr. Fantastic. I don't know if you saw it. So I want that we got a bunch more shit on it. We got an hour left. So I want y'all opinions to be on it, but I don't want to stick on this one too much longer.
Why does it go longer? Because again, if it take it longer, doesn't
mean no, not again. That means you said it before.
No. I'm saying
Willie, no, Mr. Fantastic been getting me with that for 2 years.
My bad. Listen, so what I'm saying,
he do this, Willie. He go again. I said, oh hell,
no, that's not what I was doing. That's not what I'm. So, but that's funny.
Condense it, bro, and then we moving on.
All right. Super simple. Yes, they may stay married longer. However, they still fail in the end and get divorced. You said if you could show me a pathway to get me to 405, even it's a guarantee that I'll get there.
Touche.
There is no guarantee. Just because you stay married longer doesn't mean you won't get divorced. So congratulations on spending more. It took you longer to fail than the rest of us.
Touche. Well, my example, the 405 was the goal and it was met.
Right. If it could be. It's fair.
Do it, cheeky. Don't do it.
All right. So does the talking point educated women, does it at least take a hit when we assess this statistical metric?
No.
If it takes a hit, put a 1 in the chat. If it does not, put a 2 in the chat.
Nope.
Yo, can't the manager moderators do pause?
I think so.
You gotta give
a manager, maybe.
I think the manager.
Yeah, no.
Sherelle, Tarus, you on mute, bro. It stays still even with this assessment. So Tarus says no. Cheek, does it take a hit?
Yeah, that talking about takes a hit, if not be to the side.
Sherelle, does it take a hit?
Yes.
Willie?
No.
Damn. Somebody count it up in the chat, man.